A wind turbine has 200 tons of steel in it, 8,000 different parts, 8,000 components. Imagine if we could put renewed energy into our restructuring of our manufacturing base.
The old way is gone. It's gone. So once you get that in your head.
You know, we had a lot of jobs that, you know, are gone now. Not only steel, the garment industry.
The American people is losing their jobs every day.
I got a phone call while I was over at the place I go watch Steeler football games.
I was out raking leaves and my cell phone rang.
Told not to come back to work. I didn't have a job.
Saying we closed the plant, you don't have a job no more. It was a feeling that I've never had before.
I spent 15 years in the steel mill as a machine operator.
I was in the business for 15 years.
I've been into that almost like 22, 23 years.
Was here for 31.5 years when Kensington went out of business.
You know, all I ever really wanted to do in my life was just, you know, support my family, keep my job. And when they shut this place down, it was the worst feeling I ever had. I was willing to take any job I could, just to be able to support my family. But in this economy, you know, there's no guarantees.
Well, I lost my home and vehicles and starting from scratch, just like somebody just beginning their life.
Drive down the road and you can see communities that their manufacturing factory has left the community area. First thing you do is you see hardware stores closing down, you see gas stations closing down, and then all the other support groups.
We've had a declining enrollment for several years. You know, being in rural America, you know, our best and brightest seems to be leaving us. Anytime we talk about a new industry coming in that's possibly going to offer jobs, well, that's good news.
Because one of the old arguments is that, well, we can clean up the environment, but a bunch of people are going to be out of work. Well, that argument doesn't hold water anymore.
It was very good news when they called us and said that they wanted, you know, we could come back to work. You have no idea. Yeah. It was really nice.
When I got the call from my friend Chuck, he told me that this company, Serious Materials, was ready to buy the plant and said, asked me if I was interested in coming back. I can honestly tell you, I was giddy as a little schoolgirl. Honestly.
When this plant came in, most of these employees that developed from another plant, so employees came over here from other plants, and their skill sets transferred over.
There's always going to be a need for the specialized skills that, for example, a solar installation company might have for an installer.
Like say for the solar electric systems, you know, the electricians already have these basic skills available to them. They know how to size wiring, they know how to bend conduit, and that's a plus.
And I told my wife, I said, wind industry, that's electrical, you know, I think I could fit right into that.
A lot of my skills as a machine operator from the mill, you know, work the same way here.
I love doing mechanical work. It's my thing.
With my factory experience, they welcomed me in.
They, wanted me to start right away.
I went down to fill out an application. Within 2 weeks later, I had a job, and I started back to welding.
I interviewed that Friday. They called me that evening and asked me if I wanted the job to show up on Monday. And I come in, I've been here ever since.
There are skilled jobs and non-skilled jobs, trades jobs. I think that if you look at what we are doing, every installation, as you see here with these meters and these gateways, is going to have a touch of a tradesman to the consumer's house to make it work. So the landscape is changing, it's changing for the positive.
This is, you know, an opportunity to begin a new career, you know, a lifelong career.
Folks can get into these jobs and not have any experience working in any type of green industry or clean tech industry at all.
I would say 60 to 70% of my site people are ex-military. They have discipline, they are hard workers, they know how to follow orders, and the leadership positions that we have in that, they know how to lead people too.
The military, I worked in the armory, so I was in charge of a lot of ammunition, weapons. I worked on the 5-inch gun, mechanical, hydraulic systems. So that helps me when I go up and work with hydraulics.
I could be doing my same job right now as I was in the Navy, only instead of below water, I'm 300 feet in the air.
You know, like the jobs that we do in our plant, they're skilled jobs, they're good paying jobs.
These are good paying jobs. These aren't minimum wage jobs.
This job has allowed me to have a much better health care plan.
Yes, we have benefits, we have insurance and things like that. It's a pretty good paying job.
I have money left over.
I can afford the taxes to pay and still feed my kids. I got a nice home.
I'm able to pay my mortgage.
I paid my house off working at this point.
You know, I'm living in a neighborhood I didn't think I'd ever get to live in.
The revenue that these will produce for the county and the schools and the roads and all, I think it's really going to beef our county back up, because I think our county's just been working on a bare minimum on everything.
I watched a program on Channel 9 that talked about the wind farm project, and it's kind of neat to think that I'm part of that. It makes you feel like you're part of something other than just being here.
Ultimately, the success of the business community is a huge part of the puzzle of the success of the community.
Whenever the state, they try and persuade companies to come build within there, one of the reasons they're doing that is so that they can build the manufacturing jobs. The manufacturing jobs end up supporting support groups outside of that.
When we hire these people, there's the effect of the local community. You know, we think about it as 600 Cree people here in Durham, but we're probably affecting 10 times that or more.
And electric industry jobs don't go overseas because electricity can only be provided as far as the wires go. So we are an inherently domestic industry.
It's the best thing that's hit this area for maybe ever.
They always talk about, when is it going to be here? Is it here? And they always talking about it in the future tense, solar energy. It's here.
It's not just a movement, it's a reality now.
There's no such thing as a G CFO, a green CFO, right? It's a CFO. The difference is really just the products and service that are being offered. But the reality is I'm a chief financial officer, and all these companies need those as well.
If you build all the components in America and you try to make a real impact on the power usage, which is projected to really increase, you're going to have to make a whole lot of parts and put up a whole lot of towers and put a whole lot of people to work, and not just for a year or two, but for a decade or two.
It's very comparable, and others have used this, to building the interstate highway system.
When you go to new technology, someone has to install it. Someone has to teach people about it. So there's an incredible number of people involved in getting it to the customer.
All we are is a energy service provider. We are just like, honestly, the coal-fired power plants and other types of energy generation service providers, right?
I mean, I think the misconception about turbines are that they're kind of exotic, but basically a wind turbine is just a generator.
The difference is the electricity that our systems are generating do not produce any emissions or pollutants.
I worked for the oil and gas industry. I worked for Halliburton, one of the more well-known oil and gas companies. But I had a gradual awakening and just seeing a lot of the disadvantages of our overdependence on fossil fuels.
We have to get away from our reliance on foreign oil, you know, and burning coal.
So that we're not sending $400 billion a year overseas for foreign oil.
I'm personally very aware of the vast amounts of wealth that we continue to ship overseas.
If we're getting all of our energy from one particular place, it makes us vulnerable.
If they, for some reason, they say, hey, we're not going to sell to you, or for some reason they decide to jack up the price on those things, that's an I don't know. Where I do know that the sun shines every day, and I do know that in parts of the country the wind blows every day. And I do know that the waves come in every day on some of the coastal areas.
There's broad impact that our company has, not only in bringing the economy back, but they give the workers, the workforce, and us a chance to contribute to the defense of the country.
America's biggest advantage, and I travel around the world and I see this, is we are probably the best innovators in the world. We understand the concept of taking a problem and finding a solution faster and better and quicker than others. And it truly is our competitive advantage.
You know, we figured out a way to make windows that are as much as 4 times more energy efficient than anything else on the market today. Over the life of those windows, with increasing energy costs, you can save upwards of $100,000 in energy savings.
Competition is good. Competition forces innovation. Entrepreneurs force innovation.
I actually worked for Ford Motor Company in the automotive industry. I thought it was the coolest place in the world to work. It had a tremendous history. You could see that there were issues with the future. So much of the energy was about what you couldn't do. They'd become so worried about protecting the business they had they forgot to go get the business that was going to drive them in the future.
The role of the government is key into catalyzing the private capital into these markets.
It's our government too. They actually work for us, so they should listen to us.
We want jobs now, we want good jobs now, and we want to put America back to work.
And the one thing that we really want to drive when it comes to policy and other things is, our biggest concern is there is so much momentum to protect the existing technologies, because they say that's where the jobs are today. The problem is protecting those technologies is only going to limit our future success.
Well, there are a lot of companies like ours that are waiting to invest in new projects all across the country. And that, of course, investment creates jobs. But we need to know what the rules are. We need to know, as economic animals, what we're solving for.
We fundamentally create a disadvantage to build things in America because our energy infrastructure isn't competitive with the rest of the world. You know, in China, when they're talking about new infrastructure, energy efficiency is not debated because they know that you cannot sacrifice this investment in future technology if you want to be part of the future generation and be an energy efficiency leader.
China is already the largest solar manufacturer, the largest wind blade manufacturer. They're investing hundreds of billions of dollars in this area. And this is at places where the United States initially led in innovation.
What am I worried about as a business person? I'm worried that if we don't make these investments, we can't compete with the rest of the world, because we're going to have infrastructure that's going to be so energy inefficient. Energy costs alone are going to be at the disadvantage. You can forget everything else.
I think that we need this. I think it just really helps the economy.
Problems aren't issues, they're opportunities. Every problem or barrier in a market is an opportunity to do it better and to grow your company, to grow your job personally, and really make something out of something that wasn't there before.
It is a great opportunity for Americans to exhibit their ingenuity and just being able to get it done.
You know, back in the day, made in the USA meant something to people. If nothing else, United States, to this day, still the biggest export we have and our #1 strong suit is technology. We're going to make a difference in a positive way, and we're going to make some money at the same time, and that's okay.
This is from your business advocacy organization that has seen where it's worked and wants you to know that you're missing out. Getting that 10,000-foot level as to what's possible on a global scale to come down and touch the reality of what can happen building to building and really person to person is the challenge that I think is oversimplified sometimes by people outside the business community. Having that longer-term sense of reality and implementation, but motivated by a passion and urgency, that's the mix I think to go for.
If we do it correctly, we can address the aging infrastructure and provide access for renewables at the same time. I really can't envision what else would have as large an impact on our county.
If you can provide clean energy to the people and your communities, you're going to be valuable.
Even I know we have to change. We cannot leave this world the way it is now.
Anything you can do to help cut down the cost of energy is going to be something good.
This is good for our economy. This is the right thing to be doing. And we need to do more of it and do it quickly because it's just good for America.
And the way I see it, this is more than just a job to me. It's also doing our small part in this tiny corner of America to move this country forward. That's what I want to see. Just let it roll here. We can start here in Vandergrift and create a whole bunch of new jobs. Well, that's even better. And I want to thank you all for showing up and putting up with me.
My name is Shayna Lee.
My name is Wes McGuire.
My name is Kelley Ward.
My name is Mario Perez. Well, I live here in Round Rock.
I'm Ron Slade. I'm from Lucas, Kansas.
My name is Erica Ornsby. I live in Montgomery County.
Rich Kostolansky.
My name is Rich McBride.
My name is Robin Scott.
My name's Mike Vetty. I live in Rockport, Missouri.
My name is Marvel Mason. I live in Washington, Missouri.
My name is Kathy Sweshelm.
Gerald Nicholson. I live in the town of New Haven.
My name is Gary Stoner, S-T-O-N-E-R.
I guess I can just ramble on about them because they're so exciting.
Where's the beer?
Have your autograph. Yeah. I'll never hear the end of this.